Are you looking to catch up on all the latest Blue Jays action? Are you curious how the Jays fared against the World Series champion Houston Astros? You are in the right place. This is Station to Station, our Jays series recap show here on Organized Chaos Sports. We'll look back to the series against the Houston Astros and preview the series against the New York Yankees. Thank you, and we hope you enjoy. Jays Astros. The Blue Jays roll into Minute Maid Park for a 3-game series starting the week to face off against the 2022 World Series champions. Cavan Biggio's hometown. His old man is in the Astros front office. Dustin, what were your prospects going into this one?
I thought there was a good chance. Obviously, the Astros are the defending World Series champs, and they're going to be tough going into their home park. I think the result is decent. I guess it's probably the best you can expect from a bad series, but it had a lot of I think the sort of the story of the series for me is kind of failed opportunities for the Blue Jays.
Well, I would definitely agree on that. I think, as we're about to talk about, after game one, did not look good. But I think also the Jays showed their quality as well as they give themselves an opportunity to really compete. So let's go through game one here. So we have some roster changes to start off. We have Nathan Lucas, who is recalled. He's a lefty bat. And Jordan Luplow has been optioned to AAA. As I said, Nathan Lucas is a lefty bat, and all of the pitchers that Houston threw at us were righties. So really made a lot of sense in this case. Lineup changes for game one. Vladdy is the DH. Belt is in at first base. Again, he's another lefty. And Biggio in at second. He's another lefty, but I figure, given it's his hometown, I figured he was probably going to get a start out of this. Also in combination with him being on the left side of the plate. Pitching matchup, Kevin Gausman versus Christian Javier. Gausman comes into this game 1-1, 1.35 ERA, 21 innings pitched. He has, in those 21 innings pitched, 25 strikeouts, a whip of 1.00, and 3 walks. As we're about to learn, that is going to change significantly in this game. Something that I don't think any of us expected, and I imagine Gausman would probably echo those sentiments.
Yeah, I don't know what happened really. There's a lot of discussion about, tipping or, just maybe a good approach from the World Series champions. I mean, I think they just left his splitter down and hit his fastball, and hey, that's, you got to hand it to them.
Definitely. It does seem, if we're talking about common themes so far this series, it does seem like our pitchers do have some issues, especially in the first inning. I would say early on, especially in the first inning, there seems to be something, and I'm sure the pitching staff is probably trying to figure out what's going on in terms of their approach and why so many balls are being put into play. So top one, the Astros jump out and they get 7 runs off of Gausman. Six of them were earned, and that came through a single, a walk, a double, a walk. A runner reached base on a catcher influence. Don't see that every day. There's a double, and then the pile driver was a 3-run home run. Moving on to the bottom of the third, the Astros make it 8-1, and that one run that the Jays cashed in was a Matt Chapman solo home run. The Astros had another run, make it 9-1. That is in the bottom of the sixth. And then on top of the eighth, Espinal homers, and the game ends 9-2. The winning pitcher was Christian Javier, and losing pitcher was the already mentioned Kevin Gosman. Surprisingly, he actually went 4.2 innings pitched. Unsurprisingly, 7 hits, 7 earned runs, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts.
Yeah, it's a tough, result for Gosman. I think we saw a game like this early last year against the Twins. He had a similar kind of game where it just seemed like they knew when the splitter was coming and they let it go. And they knew when the fastball was coming and they hit it. It may be as simple as um, just swinging at the high pitch, anything high in the zone, let it fly. Anything low, let it go. So that may be it. I know there's some chatter on Twitter about the Astros cheating. I doubt very much it's that.
Well, I think I think I don't know. That's beating a dead horse at this point.
Yeah,
We've known for a long time that they're always up to something. Whether they're still up to it or not, I don't know. That seems like a lazy take from people on Twitter.
one more thing is that I think this game had sort of that first sort of failed opportunity. I think it was in the third inning. You had a single from Kiermaier, Bo Bichette single, Varsho walked, and then Matty Chapsticks is up there with bases loaded and strikes out on a foul tip. So another kind of just or one of the first of many failed opportunities this series.
Well, Dustin, Matt Chapman can't hit a home run every at bat.
That's true.
Moving on to game two, some lineup changes. We have Kirk at catcher. Belt has been moved to DH. Varsho is in center field. Merrifield is in left, covering off Varsho. And Espinal is at second base. We have a pitching matchup: Chris Bassett versus Jose Urquidy. Bassett comes into this game 1-2, 7.63 ERA, 12 strikeouts, and a WHIP of 1.63. Dustin, I thought Bassett had so far the season is short, but I thought he had an exceptional start.
It's probably his best of the season, that's for sure. Seemed much more comfortable there with the pitch com, and he was just mixing in all his different pitches, uh, fooling guys left and right. It looked great.
Well, he's definitely been building, I think, since that opening game, and his performances seem to be keep getting better and better. It seemed to be a classic Chris Bassett game. Lots of soft contact. Of course, he's working in his 7 pitches as well, and he definitely looked comfortable with the pitch calm to the point that I almost didn't really notice it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it just seemed to everything just seemed to flow so well.
Yeah, I know, and you just kept putting zeros on the board. I mean, that's um, hopefully something that continues, and hopefully it can rub off on some of these other guys in this rotation as well.
I want to talk about one play first. In the first, no scoring from the Jays, but when the Astros are up, Bo Bichette makes a really nice play. He comes in hard from short, snags a grounder on short hop, and then really saves an infield single because he threw it to first, and it's a really good throw. That's what was needed to get the out. But I think we're seeing some signs, and I'm not. I think we should still keep an eye on it, but I think we're seeing some signs that Bo Bichette defensively is slowly improving.
I hope so. I really like the guy. I think, he's got a excellent bat, and if he can be even a sort of a top end defensive shortstop, he's going to be a perennial all-star. And so, yeah, I hope to see more plays like this in the future. And, maybe just limit those mental mistakes that he sometimes makes.
All right, so the game remains scoreless until top of the fourth. We have two home runs. We have a Vladdy opposite field solo home run, and then Matt Chapman comes up and does the very same. And they really, both of these home runs look pretty much like carbon copies of each other.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I was actually confused. I thought it was the same home run that they were replaying at one point, but obviously it turned out that Chapman added to his season tally. So the inning ends 2-0. Uh, the Astros uh, still are not scoring any runs. Top of the fifth, the Jays come to the plate. We have a belt walk, a Witt single. So and key here was a hit and run with Brandon Belt on first base. And Dustin, I don't know if you saw the broadcast, but
Yeah.
Dan Schulman was he's going on and on and on about, oh, they're not going to hit and run and they're not going to do this and Belt's slow and this and that. And frankly, I agree with everything he said. And then literally, the pitch after he mentioned all of this, Belt takes off, opens a hole on the right side of the infield, and that's where Witt was able to sneak the ball through. I thought this is an example of maybe not a situation where you expect the Jays to do something, but this is the Jays putting a little bit of pressure on the opposition.
Yeah, and something interesting I think they were talking about on yesterday's broadcast, they Dan Schulman talked to Whit Merrifield about that, and there wasn't an actual hit and run play on. It was
Oh, no way!
actually
I did
Brendan
not know
Belt
that.
was discussing with the first base coach, and I guess the pitcher was very deliberate to the plate, and they just thought they could steal. And actually, Whit
Oh,
Merrifield recognized that, saw that, took a kind of a hack and poked it, you know, to the second base spot where he knew that the second baseman wouldn't be there, and he kind of put the hit and run on himself. So that's an interesting
so I
twist.
always I always wonder how that occurs because like the first baseman standing right there, like how do you communicate that or suggest that without the opposition first baseman not really knowing what's afoot?
They got to have some kind of secret code or something. Like if I talk about, you know, popcorn, that means steal. I don't know. They got to have something.
All
Or
right,
maybe it's
so
just so loud. Maybe it's just so loud in there that you can kind of whisper.
it is an indoor stadium, so and they rarely open the roofs. So Espinal follows us off with a single to right field. Belt scores as he's on third. Bo comes up to the plate after this, and an RBI single to right field, which scores Witt. So this inning ends 4-0. The Houston gets a couple runs back in later on in the game, and there's a pair of RBI singles, and this game ends 4-2. I thought this was a great game for the Jays. They just looked really well put together. Weren't I don't know, they didn't really overpower their opposition, but they just seemed to have everything together in this game.
Yeah, I think just another example of their many ways to win strategy, and it's great to see um, them put up a good fight against a team that they're likely to see um, coming down the stretch, in any World Series run.
So winning pitcher Chris Bassett, and he's 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, zero in runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. Bassett improves his record to 2-2, and his ERA is 5.40. Losing pitcher Jose Urquidy. Game three, rubber match of the series. We have some lineup changes. Springer starts, but he is a DH. Kirk is at catcher. Merrifield at second base, and Lucas comes in at right field for Springer. Pitching matchup: Luis Garcia versus Jose Barrios. And I think a lot of interest in this game. Obviously, as I mentioned, this game was the deciding series, but it's Barrios on the mound again. Dustin, why don't you give me some thoughts on how he performed?
Um, actually, up until the eighth inning, I thought it was a great performance. Um, you know, Barrios uh, put on a clinic, and uh, the team itself just couldn't give him any support. Um, I hate to see those kinds of you know outings for a pitcher. It's tough to see somebody really kind of dominate on that side of the ball and just get no support. But again, it's encouraging to see some of this turnaround from Bassett, from Barrios. Hopefully, we see a similar outing again from Kikuchi and the whole lineup. They need to kind of improve and build off the success.
Coming into this game, Luis Garcia was actually seems like one of the weaker Houston Astros pitchers, as I don't think he had a win coming into this game. So it seemed like
Yeah.
this one could have been for the taking. All right, so bottom of second, Barrios runs into a bit of trouble. We have hit by pitch. That Astro then steals second base. There's a walk, and then there is a two-run RBI double by Jake Myers. So the Astros jump out to a 2-0 lead. So this game remained 2-0 until the top of the eighth, where there's an Alejandro Kirk single. Espinal comes on to pinch run, and Espinal actually scores from first on a Witt RBI double. Following that, Kiermaier walks. There is a pass ball. So Witt and Kiermaier advance. Lucas walks, and this is kind of where the inning tips for the Jays. We Springer lines out. There is a Bo Bichette strikeout, and Vladdy flies out. So bases loaded following scoring that run, and they get no runs, Dustin.
Man, for me, it was such an emotional roller coaster. They just start mounting a comeback, score a run, and then they got two men on, nobody out, and Nathan Lucas is on, and I'm like, oh, maybe this kid's got this is his first MLB start. Uh, he's up here in a pretty intense moment where he's got an opportunity to hit somebody in, and he walks, and it's like, oh, great. The kid actually, you know, doesn't fall, doesn't strike out. Now we got bases loaded, and we got Springer, Bo, and Vladdy. I mean, you give me that moment any day of the week, and you're laughing, right? Springer actually put a pretty good charge into it, and I'm standing up. I'm like, yes, and then it's caught, and it's like deflating, and that's just the roller coaster falling down. Bo Bichette strikes out. Vladimir Guerrero puts together a good at bat, but ultimately flies out, and you're just like, you know, full of frustration from the fact that you can't score with nobody out, bases loaded. What the heck?
Well, and I think that's where I think there's an element of luck in here, where if that ball is a few feet to that third baseman's left, maybe he doesn't get it, and there's probably two runs right there. But
Oh,
I
definitely.
definitely thought the wheels were turning in that inning, and I was definitely getting excited as to what they were building, and just didn't amount to anything. So that inning ends 2-1, and that was really it for the Jays. As Houston comes up in the bottom of the eighth, and drops the pile driver, 6 runs, and that's the nail in the coffin. The game finished 8-1. I don't really think that scoreline is indicative of the game. It was much closer till the very end. So we have the winning pitcher, Luis Garcia, losing pitcher, Jose Barrios. Uh, as you mentioned, this was quite a good start, to the point that if the Jays took the lead in the top of the eighth, Barrios actually would have been on for the win. So that's how that's how well he pitched. So he had 7 innings
Yeah.
pitched, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, very good, 3 strikeouts, and his record now is 1-3 with and improves his ERA to 6.23.
Um, I think there was a little bit of a mismanagement of the bullpen there on that inning. If I have to, be a little critical, I'm not usually one to criticize the manager too harshly, but bringing in Zach Pop in that moment, we're down by 1 run late in the game. There's an off day the next day, and you know there's a relief pitcher in the bullpen that you traded, one of your best offensive guys from last year for, and you're bringing in Zach Pop. I know Zach Pop has been pretty good, but he's not ready. I don't think he was ready for that situation. And that's, to me, what happened there is Zach Pop just kind of uh, didn't didn't step up to the pressure in that moment. And I think uh, Schneider should have known that and should have brought Swanson in.
Well, I know Swanson was definitely warming up a couple times, and I don't
Yeah.
know what the particular plan was there, but I guess it definitely didn't work out.
No.
So the Jays finished the series 11-8. They are in fourth place in the AL East, and they will be heading to New York, the Bronx, for their next series on the weekend. But before we talk about that, Dustin, can you give me a player of the series?
I think I'm going to go with Whit Merrifield. He didn't play in the first game, but in the 2 subsequent games, he had 1 run, 4 hits, an RBI, and he raised his batting average to 314. And I think we talked about the second game, that some heads up hitting there with Belt trying to steal. I think that probably would have surprised anybody, but the fact that he was able to put the barrel on the ball and punch it into the outfield is a credit to him.
Well, after a slow start, Witt has definitely. I think this is a series where he definitely improved, and as I said, he has been increasing his batting average. Well, it was quite bad before, but
Yeah.
he increased his batting average to 314, as you said, and we'll see. He's going to get lots of chances both in the outfield, but maybe we see him get a few more opportunities at second base, given that he's swinging the bat again. In terms of my player of the series, I'm actually going to give it to a pitcher, and that pitcher is Chris Bassett. I think he had an exceptional start in game number 2. He really gave the platform for the Jays to do what they did. 6.1 innings pitched, 3 hits, 0 earned runs, only 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts. So his record is now 2-2, 5.4 ERA. But these are the kind of pitching performances that you're really looking for from all of your starters. But I think he's my player of the series. I would have picked Witt if you didn't pick him yourself, but I don't think really any other batters really stood out in the series. So I'm going to give it to Chris Bassett.
Yeah, I found it pretty fun to watch him actually when he's on his game and locating his pitches. He's somebody like that who's got so many different weapons. It's just so interesting to watch, the mix and what he throws to who and what counts. It's actually quite a fun watch when he's on.
All right, let's move on and talk about the upcoming weekend series versus the New York Yankees. The Yanks are 12 and 7, second in the AL East behind the mighty Tampa Bay Rays. Pitching matchups, we have Kikuchi, Manoa versus Garrett Cole, and then Kevin Gosman wrapping up the series on Sunday. Dustin, I think reviewing the pitching matchups, I was actually really excited about this one. I think, Kikuchi's had some good starts. Manoa really has a platform, and I think with everything we know about him, and responding to adversity, he's facing the Yankees' best pitcher in Garrett Cole. So that one on Saturday should be a good one. And then finishing up the series, we have Gosman, who up to his last start was our best pitcher so far this year.
Yeah, definitely shaping up to be a super exciting series. Like you said, we got arguably our three best pitchers going. Um, you know, Kikuchi has been really hot for us. And, I think there's been some drama. I think there's some drama between Manoa and Cole last year. So if any game is going to give Manoa that fire in his belly to come out and right the ship, it's this one. I'm looking forward to it.
You are correct. I forgot about that incident. All right, so Yankees obviously have a lot of household names. Aaron Judge, the 2022 AL MVP, the aforementioned Garrett Cole, who is their ace and pretty much workhorse this year. We have Anthony Rizzo at first, and then at short, they have Cleaver Torres and the hot rookie Anthony Volpe. One of the things, Dustin, though, about this Yankees team, and I don't think we're going to see it quite yet, but they have an aging team, some thin starting pitching, and really what's going to probably hamper this team are injuries. Giancarlo Stanton is out,
Mm.
Josh Donaldson's out, and two starting pitchers are out, probably for the whole season. So uh, if we could get some wins now when this team is actually healthy, I think that would bode well for future um, prospects in the season.
Yeah, especially with the rebalanced schedule, you don't actually get a whole lot of opportunities to face your in division rivals. So when you do get these opportunities like this, where maybe there's a little more of an advantage to you, you got to capitalize on that. And going into Yankee Stadium and seeing them when they're not necessarily at their best is something that we should be trying to take advantage of for sure.
I would totally agree, and we will have other games against them, but I think if we can take a couple of these games and with the pitching matchups, I think it's definitely a possibility. I think that would basically be a split on this road trip, and it would bode quite well. What's your prediction?
I think I'm going to go for a sweep here. I'm going to make a bold prediction. I think the Blue
Oh,
Jays,
Dustin's
my
going to sweep. Oh
my first
man.
sweep prediction. Yeah, I think they're going to get up for the Yankees. I think Kikuchi's going to uh, knock their socks off, and we're just going to go off with the bats. So that's my prediction.
All right. Well, I'll have my broom ready on Sunday when we record our next episode. Thanks for listening. This has been Station to Station here on Organized Chaos Sports. We'll be back on Monday to discuss the weekend series versus the New York Yankees. Thanks for listening and see you then.